I'm Dr. Stephen Vaughan, and I'm the module convener for the LLM module Environmental Lawyering. And in this module, what we're looking at are different ways of engaging in environmental litigation and environmental access to justice. So let me give you two examples that might kind of make it a bit more realistic. So imagine you're a lawyer who wants to bring litigation against the government because the government's chosen to pursue a policy of nuclear energy over renewable energy. In that situation, you're acting on behalf of the environment. But the environment can't give you instructions. The environment doesn't really exist. What you're doing in that situation is you're pursuing a cause. But sometimes we have problems with cause lawyers who take their causes too far, who think really much about themselves rather than the thing they're trying to protect. Different example. Imagine you have a house and the local authority wants to build a coal-fired power station next door to your house. Now, in most countries, you'd have the right to be involved in that decision. You might get to feed into the process, you might get to get your views heard. But imagine that you didn't have the money to engage in that process. Imagine you didn't have the expertise, you didn't understand planning law or environmental impact. Imagine that you didn't have the internet where you lived in a rural part of the community. So what would it mean in that situation where you had the right to do something, but you didn't have a way to enforce it? They're sorts of the things we're going to be discussing in this module. We're going to be looking at fundamental concepts and concerns. So we'll begin by looking at ecological justice and environmental justice. We'll then move on to things like funding. How do you fund litigation? How do you bring claims to court? We'll look at things like standing, who has the right to bring litigation, and then we'll move into a whole series of different case studies. And those will differ from year to year, but might include things like climate change litigation and oil and gas litigation. Now, one of the ways this module is different to your other modules is the way in which it's assessed. So for this module, we have two different types of assessment, and one of them is an output for an audience. So as lawyers, we're very good at talking to other lawyers, we're good at talking to academics, but we're not brilliant always at talking to the world beyond the academy. So what we're asking you to do is take your learning from this module and produce an output. So it might be that you produce a briefing paper for an NGO on how it can raise financing to bring environmental litigation. Or it might be that you produce a blog that's aimed at the general public on some aspect of standing. Or it might be that you produce a cartoon for a child that talks to them about climate change and how climate change is regulated around the world. Now, you don't have to be creative to do any of these things. You don't have to have a degree in art to come and do these things. They really vary, and it's your choice in the type of output that you produce. And then the second form of assessment is an essay which links to that output, where you tell us why you chose the output you chose, the law that's relevant to it, and what you were trying to do with that output. Now, we're really excited about this module. We're excited about you communicating with the world beyond the academy, and we're looking forward to having you study this module with us next year.